Hi, this is Heidi, episode 13, Being a Good Mom. You don't want to fail at the one job that means the world to you, being a mother. Confidence is the key, my friends. I'm glad you're here. Hello, friends. I am glad you're here. Before we get going, I want to make sure that you all know you can hit the subscribe button in iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. I am the solo Android user in our home, so I listen through Castbox. And I love how my favorite episodes show up right away from other shows. And that's because I'm subscribed to them. So make sure you're subscribed to Hi, this is Heidi. And thank you for telling your friends about the podcast. I love it when you reach out to me and tell me what you've learned and what resonates with you, and even things that you want to see on future episodes. Please keep that up, and I'm going to share more and more of those. And keep up rating and reviewing in iTunes. I am going to do something fun when we get to 100 reviews. I'm not sure what, so I'll keep us both in suspense. And also, I'm offering now that if you sign up for a free mini session before the end of November and sign up for 12 weeks of coaching, which is 1 hour a week, private one-on-one coaching on a video web session, I will give you the 13th session free. So seriously, give your family the gift of a confident and relaxed mom for the holidays. This is a gift that won't expire, and it only increases in value over time. And you'll be giving yourself the gift of peace and less overwhelm and stress and more love for yourself and everyone around you. Now, I am planning a Confident Mother workshop in January 2020. Plans are in the works. And with that in mind, and with most of my clients and future clients and friends in mind, I'm focusing this episode on a topic and silent fear most moms struggle with emotionally and mentally, probably more than any other topic. We all want to be a good mom, and we consciously or subconsciously tell ourselves hourly or daily or more often, I'm not good enough. See, I didn't do it right. I'm not measuring up to these other women. I'm passing on my flaws to my kids. If only I could have mastered this weakness, I'd be a better example. I love my kids so much, but they won't do what I tell them to do, so they're happy. On and on. I know we all have our favorite mental whips. And then we use outside signs or validation if we're good, like if our kids get along or do something nice for each other or get good grades or become Eagle Scouts. We then give ourselves permission to think we are good. All the while not realizing that the whole time we have been good. What they get is their result, not ours. But we're going to get to more of that at the end of the episode. So today's topic is great. It's emotional. It's going to keep you thinking. Listen, even if you're a dad, if your kids are young, if they're out of the house. I'll probably reference mostly teenagers because that's what I have in my house, but these thoughts easily transfer to whatever season you are in. So almost every culture universally values family relationships. We would be hard-pressed to find a woman who, when we asked her if she wanted to be a good mom, wouldn't say, "Of course I want to be a good mom." And even underscoring that this is a universal priority, there are cultural forces at play that demonstrate most people put a very high value on being a good parent. If you're in any cemetery, the headstone lists the family relationship almost exclusively. Now, all this means that in addition to us having natural desires to be a good job at being a mom, it's easy to see how society puts pressure on us to measure up in some way or gives us benchmarks to determine if we're doing a good job or not. Now, add on top of this that many women I know are perfectionists. including myself as a recovering perfectionist. And social media splashes all of the perfect mom scenarios. We have totally been set up to fail at this job mentally, which is easy if we aren't watching our thoughts and expectations, questioning how we define being a good mom, and nurturing our own self-esteem and confidence, not needing to look outside of ourselves for this validation. So I'm going to generally assume we want our children to be happy and healthy and successful, however we define that. But as anyone who has had even one child knows, being a parent is anything but what we thought it was going to be before we brought them home from the hospital, terrified that they came with no instruction manual. I remember being horrified that a nurse wasn't coming home from the hospital when we brought home Carter, and we were responsible and high-functioning adults, and still we had no clue what to do. Now, as a side note, my mom came and stayed for 3 weeks with us, and Bill and I both cried buckets when she left. I didn't know how I was going to do it alone, but we managed, and we even had 2 more amazing children. So to all of you listening, if you're going to be a grandma, please stay with your children the way my mom did. It was a beautiful and selfless gift. So now we had read books, and since then I've read a lot more. I've asked my friends a million questions, but even books and friends and blogs and even other family members have very different opinions about what is right and what is wrong in parenting. It can be confusing. I was confused because for many years I was holding on very tight to this mental bar that I had to do it right. Being a mom is all I wanted to be. I didn't want to do a single thing wrong. It had to be either right or wrong, nothing in between. And all of us know there is very little that is right or wrong. Parenting is all about living in the gray area and loving it. Okay, so first question, what is the yardstick of being a good mom? What's the definition? Who defines it? Well, there is no definition. We individually get to decide what makes a good mom. This is good because we get to decide how we structure our home. We aren't forced to feed our children that maybe we don't even like. We can teach our children our religious beliefs, which might be different from someone else. We decide how much media and electronics they have access to. We decide what clothing is appropriate or not. Do your children share a room or have their own room? On and on. And we generally put thought into these decisions. We might ask others their opinions, but once we put in place a family structure, it's ours to say if we've done it right. I might change it later, but it's perfect for now. And some people define being a good mom as one who teaches her children music. They are coaches for a sports team. Another mom is a great example of being a lawyer or a scientist or an entrepreneur. I could go on and on. It's tough though, because we see examples everywhere of what good is, and regardless of what other people say about us, either to us or behind our backs, the most powerful opinion and critique is how we judge ourselves. Do we think we are doing a good job? Now, I want you to think now, even pause the podcast or do it after you listen to this. But what do you think is the definition of a good mom? Now write it down. This will be one of the most useful exercises that you can do to reveal to yourself the deep thoughts that you use to value your opinion of you as a mom. Now, does this definition include the grades that your kids get? Does your definition include how many home-cooked dinners you have or how clean your house is? Does it include your salary and how much you provide for your children at home? Does it include if you don't have a career or if you do? Does it include how your child behaves, how happy they are, how much love they feel from you? Does it include if you're married or not? Does it include if you yell or maybe other behaviors? Does it include how you look and exercise? Do you define a good mom as someone who wears makeup every day? Or does a good mom have little time for herself and she doesn't shower daily or get out of pajamas? Does your definition include the way you were parented? Or maybe what your husband thinks a good mom should do or be? Now, I used to tie the cleanliness and state of clutter in my home to my value as being a good mom. And I had the pretty ridiculous expectation of myself, and now I can hire someone to do the work. Or I loosen my definition and I remind myself I'm a good mom, despite the 7 loads of laundry that aren't folded or put away on a regular basis. So you have your definition of a good mom. I'm going to help you here question each of those judgments, see if they are valid and if they really support your confidence as a mom and how you show up around your children. The problem now becomes that we look outside of our thoughts and maybe values we decide are our priorities for more ideas of what is a good mom. So what we want gets clouded by what other people think. Also, look at your list. How much of your list includes things like how happy your children are, or what their grades are, or what awards they get in school, or how many friends they have? These are not your results as a mom. These are their results as their own individual person. We can't make another person happy or make them feel love. They feel those emotions from the thoughts that they think about things going on around them. Some children might choose to think they're loved by getting a big bowl of sugary cereal every morning, and another child might not see that as love because they want a bagel. And the grades your child gets are their results. They're not your results as a mom. I keep mentioning this because so many parents tie their worth to that or beat themselves up about that, including myself. Now, our job is to support and provide a learning environment, however we define that as being important to us. Some people might hire tutors, whatever. Doing that is our results. Some moms I know who I think are very good moms are very hands-off with their children for their own reasons. So what we do is our result. We can't tie our worth or value, or if we define ourselves as good or bad, to the child's result. So are you seeing the problem we have if we do? We end up as frantic, controlling, paranoid, stressed, insecure mothers. If we tie our worth to the results of our children, we put completely inappropriate and suffocating pressure on our children. And then worse, we pressure them to perform, and we ignore or minimize the fact that they're here to learn and grow in their own way, in their own time, with their own strengths and weaknesses. And then we perpetuate emotional childhood or blaming other people for our feelings and behavior instead of being emotional adults and taking responsibility for ourselves. If we tie our value to our children, we model unhealthy perfectionism, and we really show up with little confidence in ourselves and in our children. Our children want to know we trust them, that we have confidence in them, confidence to make mistakes as well as succeed. And that regardless of which team they're picked for, or which orchestra they make, or which college accepts them, or which part in the play they get, they are 100% worthy and lovable, failures and successes. So I've moved on to the second question I want you to ask yourself. The first is, what's your definition of a good mom? The second is, who or what do you look to for approval that you are a good mom? Now, if you're a normal person with a normal brain wired like most of us, we do often or subconsciously interpret outside things to mean we are a good mom. My girlfriend recently told me that she saw her darling girls holding hands as they walked into school, and she felt such warmth and she felt like a good mom. And I love to see my kids be kind to each other, but I don't make it mean that I am good. I see that and I think, oh, they are good siblings. How much do you need to see of your children, and then you make it as evidence that you are good? Do you need your husband or another family member to reinforce to you frequently that you're doing a good job? Now, I totally love it when my husband and I build each other up, and I think that is super important. But it's unhealthy to need this constant validation if without it, we think we're bad. Before I had children, I had one particular measurement of being a good mom, and that is that I would breastfeed my children. And my mother had instilled this in us that it was a good practice, and I had made that decision for myself also from other sources. And I took a breastfeeding class before Carter was even born. But guess what? I had a lot of trouble breastfeeding my children. I tried for 6 very, very long weeks with Carter. These weeks and this experience were one of the worst of my life, primarily because I was so emotionally dependent on my made up opinion that I had to do this to be a good mom. We had many doctor's appointments, trying different things and weighing him. And I realized about when I stopped that I desperately wanted someone else, preferably a doctor or someone I highly respected, to tell me I was a good mom, even if I had to feed my kids formula. I needed that outside validation. And much of the pain at this time and the agony of the decision was totally mental on my part. And this was the first of many loosening of my opinion of what is right, or opening my eyes to the perspective of so many right ways to parent. The guilt and shame and disappointment was all from my thoughts and beliefs. And once I loosened the grip and I accepted that there might be another right way and changed my own preconceived measurements of being a good mom, I then saw that I was so blessed and so lucky to live in a time when there's very high quality formula. I focused my thoughts on how glad I was my husband could participate in feeding the children at such a young age. I stopped beating myself up. And with my second son, I tried again for a grand total of 3 days. The mental grip had been loosened earlier. And then with my daughter, the nurses asked me when I was in labor if I was going to breastfeed, and I confidently said, nope, it doesn't work. She will be on formula. Now, nothing outside of me changed. What changed was my internal validation and measurement of a good mom. I had decided a good mom also bottle feeds and asks her husband to trade off nights, and so on. Now, I could have found lots of validation in other places for my choice, but I wasn't completely comfortable and confident and secure in my decision until I didn't need outside confirmation. I knew I made the right choice in my situation and for my angels. Now, I still ask a lot of friends for advice here in these teenage parenting years, which, holy cow, wow, are we in the gray area. And these conversations are usually a lot more private, and with close, trusted friends, we commiserate, we advise each other, and we do tell each other that we are the best and we are doing a great job. But the difference now, and especially honoring that my children are totally perfect the way they are, and they will learn and grow exactly as they're supposed to, is I don't assign any judgment or worth for them or me on any of these visible accomplishments. A few months ago, my oldest son was in the sidelines of a soccer game, and he told the coach that he really wanted to go into the game to take a penalty kick that would possibly help them win the game. And he missed the goal by a few inches. But when he came home, we told him how proud we were that he had tried and that he was willing to miss it, that being vulnerable and that growing is our definition of success for him. So we have to talk to ourselves in this same way. We are trying our hardest every day. Being a parent is probably the most vulnerable job in the universe. We open ourselves up to the judgment of way too many people whose opinions don't matter, but they feel totally justified in how they feel totally qualified to judge us. And we have to have our own backs and protect our confidence, even with loud outside noises and voices. Now, I'm a big fan of quieting the criticism and shouting loudly the praise. It feels good when people tell us we're doing a good job, and we should totally continue to support and build each other. I'm all for doing that. I have a voicemail saved on my phone from a couple years ago when someone called me to tell me just how amazing my kids were. I save it and I listen to it sometimes when I just need that outside validation, but I can't rely on it. So watch your thoughts and emotions and see where you seek validation on being a good mom. Now, the third question to ask yourself is, what are the results that you want for yourself as a mom? And I don't have an answer for you. I give you permission to define for yourself what makes you a good mom, and I give you permission to look to no one else for that definition. No one can jump into your head and heart and make you think or feel a certain way. You're the only one that knows your strengths, your limitations, and your children. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples that I use to measure myself. First, I feel like I'm doing a good job when I'm seeing my children as individuals, not comparing them to one another or to anyone else. And when I love them as individuals, I feel like I've done a good job each day when I can mentally point out their strengths, when I then verbally tell them how much I love them and build them up, when I encourage them to be their best person, and then I honor that they are unique. Now, a second result that I work on is I want to provide them a soft landing. I work hard to have a home with a good spirit and environment in it. And this includes the way that I talk to my children. And if we try to be kind, and if we have a safe and appropriate boundaries in our home, I respect them and provide for their temporal needs. And sometimes this means we order dinner out. Sometimes it means a home-cooked meal. Often they can find food for themselves. And as often as possible, which I really try to be pretty often, I strive to have us eat as a family. If my husband's coming home a bit later, we still try to wait and eat together because that's something I grew up with as a tradition and something I really want for this like soft landing of a home. But it's not every night. And so if it doesn't happen, I don't get mad. So the home that I strive to have has nothing to do with the size of the home or the value of the contents. It's the soft landing and how I define it that's important to me. And my kids, they may not like certain things about our home, and they might resent that they share a bedroom, but I can't control what they think about it. Part of this soft landing for me, again, this is my definition, is that I allow a lot of freedom for the state of their bedrooms. I realized years ago, and especially as I started my coaching business, that I would blame them in their rooms for my yelling or my bad mood. And I realized I'd rather these years be years of me requesting they pick up, but also seeing the perspective that out of all the things that we have going on right now, all their clothes on the floor all the time just isn't our highest priority. And I didn't like how I was parenting or showing up when I had those strict requirements. Now, a third result that I work on is that I feel like I'm good when I support and teach my children intellectually and spiritually. So this looks like me taking them to museums as well as having a home full of books, primarily because I love to read. And I support their learning at a great school. The result of this sometimes looks like I'm volunteering in their classrooms, and I used to be on their PTO. Now, I know tons of good moms who send in a check each year or do other things, but those activities that I choose to do help me feel good and help me feel like I'm supporting them in the ways I want to. And it's not just academically, but I see how I can support them socially and emotionally when I'm there in their schools. And teaching them the values and beliefs of our spiritual practice as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is very important to me. So see, I see my responsibility is to teach and provide opportunities. I don't want my value or status as a good mom to be tied to how they act at church or how they act during family prayer or if they serve a mission for our church. What they learn, both in school and at church and any other place, is totally their responsibility. And I want them to own and feel proud that they reach their goals and accomplishments, just like they own when they fall a little short. And no, we still support them. which is a lot easier when, as a mom, if I'm confident that I'm doing a good job, regardless of the results my children have. So, another big area that I define as something I have control of and I work for as a result of being a good mom is that I want to take care of myself. I want to make sure that I'm watching out for my emotional, spiritual, and physical needs and making sure they are being met. And even better, I want to thrive in those areas, not just survive. I don't think I'm being a good example. Again, this is me and my opinion. If my kids see me being a martyr mommy, someone who gives every last ounce of energy and blood or whatever to her kids, this is indulgent suffering and emotional manipulation and is, in my opinion, not the model I want to be for my children. So one of the ways I take care of myself is by taking care of my body. I learned many, many years ago that I needed 8 hours of sleep a night to be a patient and good mom. Again, my definition, but it came from knowing my needs, and I make that and other physical wellness a big priority. And I know I'm the one responsible for this. I don't stay up late, or I rarely do, working on projects or binge watching anything. I plan my days and nights so I get the sleep I need. Now, in different seasons, my kids might see me doing different things. Right now, I'm starting a business. My kids are proud that I host a podcast. They see how I carry myself and present myself to the world, and that I have confidence and I value myself. And I only know this because they've told me I really can't control what they think, but I can control that I make my own continual development a priority. I have friends and spend times with them. I invest in my body and mind. These are results that I can measure as being a good mom. And again, they're my results. You might have results that you define, and no one else can do that. Some of your measurements might be similar to mine. We are much more confident and empowered moms when we know what we can control and we look for those results, and then we trust that everything else will work out. So one final question for you to ponder. How can you develop confidence that you are a good mom? Most of my clients struggle with this. I help them see that they first have to start identifying each day what they did as a good mom. Now, this is where you have to forcefully and intentionally move your brain. Remember when your kids were young and you needed them to look at a particular place and you had to move their head so they would look at that thing? That is what you have to do with your head and your thoughts. You have to move your brain and make it identify all the reasons you are a good mom. Start with one a day, then build up a list and go back through the results that you're looking at creating. And remember, you're not comparing yourself to anyone else. And tell yourself every day, I am the best mom for my kids. I am doing my best. Sometimes we just have to congratulate ourselves on surviving or being patient through a meltdown or a teenager hormone explosion. Today, I told myself I was good by encouraging my kids to go to a service project. And also, I saw that I was patient and flexible with my daughter when she needed to go a bunch of different places. And I liked that I respected that one son really needed to sleep until well past noon. He actually hugged me later for letting him sleep in. I didn't need that validation, but I was glad that I could identify that he had a need, and I honored that. So as you continue to build your confidence, when you do something like yelling or something that isn't what you would really like to do, watch how you talk to yourself. You're human. You're a good mom. You aren't flawless. You're learning. You will be better tomorrow. Maybe you need a timeout, so take it. But don't tell yourself you're bad or there's something wrong with you. As a parent, there are no annual reviews, there are no awards, which means we have to internally give ourselves accolades and pep talks. What's nice is there are a lot of people who will tell you great things, and you have to open your mind to really hear those things and then repeat them to yourselves so you believe it. Tell yourself, I'm doing it different than other people, but I'm making the best decisions with the unique children I have and the resources at my disposal. Our confidence is our responsibility to own and build and nurture. And most of you, like me, probably have a great cheering section around you, which feels great. But it is more your responsibility than theirs to build up your security in yourself. If I'm doing my best isn't believable, then tell yourself, I'm open to believing I am a good mom, or I'm trying to see all the ways I'm doing it right, and repeat it over and over and over. Now, this is why. Now, I'm assuming if you've listened up to this point, you want to be a good mother. This role is very important in your life. But like I've taught you, the thoughts we have in our head, the sentences running through our brain create the emotions in our bodies. Now, this thought, I'm doing the best I can, creates confidence or peace or calm. These emotions then fuel how we act towards ourselves and with our children. Think about how you act in confidence or peace. Even if you're disciplining or helping with homework or something fun, we have a different tone of voice, we say different things, we have a lot more patience. And the results from all these actions are that we are a good mom and we are doing the best job we can. Now, on the contrary, the thoughts, I am failing as a mom, they create emotions like guilt and shame, which then fuel actions that come from guilt and shame, creating the results that we don't do as good a job as we could. Now, listen to episode 1 of this podcast if you haven't yet to see why the power of our thoughts are so important and create everything we have in our life. There is huge power in affirming to yourself, building your confidence in your mothering from inside. Even when your child gets suspended or caught vaping or fails a test or won't get a job, that is when it's even more important to build yourself so you show up for your child as a confident and supportive role model. Even with boundaries and love, our children desperately need strong and loving and secure examples around them. They will become strong and loving and secure themselves if they see this modeled. It's our responsibility to love ourselves, then love our children and be this confident light for them. We have to believe that our value and worth are infinite and set at birth, just like we teach our children. They need to see that we give ourselves the grace, compassion, and support that we give them. If you're listening, I know you're amazing and you're trying so hard with warts and weaknesses and all, and it makes you human and pretty great. And if your children follow your model, they'll be just fine. Imagine being a mother that loves herself so much that she can allow her children to stumble and struggle and grow like we intellectually know they need to do in this life, and we don't make it about us. We know we've done our best, and our children are experiencing exactly what they need to experience. And they get energy from the trust and love we radiate as we support them in this journey. And guess what? Part of their struggles might be being raised by a parent with our weaknesses. And maybe we need to grow in ways we only can by raising a child with their particular challenges. And guys, let's all pinky swear right here that we won't judge each other as being bad moms. Parenting another child isn't your lane. Listen to episode 2 if you want to know what's your lane and what's someone else's lane. And the challenges and gifts that we have and that our children have are God's lane. And we swerve around criticizing each other, we are only damaging our own confidence. And we all really have no idea what another parent is dealing with or how they're being guided to act for their family's life. One of the greatest gifts we can give each other is to respect their perspective and loosen the grip on what's right. Believing the thought, I choose what's right for my family, and other people get to choose what's right for them. My right way isn't the universal right way. I can't think of a more important work we can do than to apply these principles and all of my work right here to our minds as it relates to our families, our children, and even our extended family. And the end result by doing this is that we get to feel love. Love first for ourselves, then love for our children. And from what I've experienced, this love is the greatest of all. So please sign up for a free mini session to work on your confidence as a mother, or send this podcast to someone who struggles with it. It is so common, it's so natural, and it's exactly what I'm building my coaching practice around. Confident mothers are the force that will change the world. It's your time to shine. So email me at Heidi@HeidiBenjaminson.com for a free session. I'll see you next week.